just to say that we move forward to the next presentation by Albert Verhaar from Europeana Foundation. He will talk about the European data space for cultural heritage and also the work on 3D and XR by Europeana. So please, Albert. Okay, you're here. Floor is yours.
Nikhil? Now you do better. Yes, that's great. Bon dia. Good morning, people here, people online. My name is Albert Verhaar. I'm working for many years at the Europeana Foundation. But first of all, I would like to thank you for your hospitality. It's my first time in Girona, and I can definitely say I'll be back. Today, I want to talk to you about, let's see if this goes in the right direction. It does go. So, as Europeana Foundation, we lead together with 18 other partners the common European data space for cultural heritage. We're now in the final year that ends in August this year, working towards a longer term future. We don't do this, of course, on our own. We have 60 people of staff, but we have, as we call this, the Europeana Initiative, a pillar of the Europeana Foundation, Europeana Network Association, that is about 6,000 members all over Europe and also outside. The European Aggregator Forum, where we have 44 accredited aggregators who do help us to bring more content and quality into Europeana. We democratize access to culture. And this is not only about making the data available, it's also making sure that the data is usable, inclusive, equitable, and co-created across cultural, social, and geographic boundaries. The data space, one of our most important products, is Europeana.eu. Who doesn't know it? We have over 60 million items there. So the data is for us core at the data space for cultural heritage that also, of course, includes 3D. Not sure if you ever search for Girona in Europeana, but you already get over 330,000 items related to this beautiful city. We make data available for different audiences with the main purpose to reuse our data. And that is central in our approach. The higher the quality is that we get in, the better reuse opportunities we have for our audiences. So we do not promote only our Europeana.eu data portal, but we also promote other national portals existing in different countries where you have a lot more data, even also data that is not available at Europeana. What you see here, what you see here is a sneak preview of the new data space website that will hopefully be launched next month, which replacing the current landing page, which provides a bigger offer, provides more information about what we do, what we stand for, and also gives links to a lot of information that is useful for you as a professional. One step back maybe is why 3D digitation of cultural heritage matters. Because we're here to talk a lot about 3D, to make it available. Why does it matter? And I think it's important to make clear that the Commission emphasizes that it does matter in the sector because this three-dimensional digitization and top technologies do offer that unique strategic benefit. Preserving, accessing, understanding, and using cultural heritage in the 21st century. So know that we talk a little about data that comes from ages, centuries ago, but we're now in the 21st century. So it's this priority is reflected in policy frameworks from the Commission, and it's also a reason why it is important for us as a common data space for European. It also links to the TwinIt, but maybe just summarizing, is about preservation, it's about access, it's about reuse, of course, important markets like education and tourism, and also about disaster recovery. What is digitization with intent? And why is this important? We know, although costs are decreasing a bit, that's especially for smaller CHIs, 3D digitization it's at high cost, not only financial, but also based on resources. So therefore, it's important that we choose our resources and calibrate that against the motivation for making a 3D model. It moves away from just digitizing it like, oh, this is nice, which probably it is also is. And not only the sake of having a digital copy, but make sure that the process is user-focused and intentional. The asset is digitized, published online with a clear intent, a scope defined by the cultural heritage institution that it creates. That is our core principle of our Europeana publishing framework for 3D. We also promote a lot, and we invite member states to engage with us and with all of us. So last year we started the TwinIt 2 campaign, not TwinIt IT, TwinIt, just TwinIt. This is a new phase of the campaign that will further unlock the power of digitization on 3D, driving meaningful reuse across the sectors to expand our reach and impact our cultural data. And also, of course, boost our innovation, competitiveness across the cultural heritage ecosystem. So as you can see here, there's a whole pipeline. There's a timeline for this as well. We are using presidencies, and in May this year, we have our final event as well. So what are we asking to our member states? We're asking to submit one high quality 3 digitized asset to our data space to be provided at Europeana.eu with a clear reuse intent and enriched with additional data, as we call it, the metadata, but I don't need to tell you that. Stepping from 3D a little bit to XR. Of course, I need to use this example. A great example of the Girona was the virtual visualization grid. We had a very nice view yesterday. You showed us the old part, even in the parking garage. But this is an example, a great example of reuse of cultural heritage data. We need to make sure that the quality of the 3D model is suitable for these kind of applications. This is what digitization with intent should support. So the monk is back. And actually, this is a coincidence. So when I saw the monk earlier, I was like, yeah, I also show it to you. Important here is that XR experiences are learning opportunities for the sector. They provide examples of what we can do with the 3D. The role of the data space is to ensure that the sector can learn from others and reproduce those experiments. And I think we've seen the monk earlier, and we've heard the monk talking, and that it was about what you also would have seen. What is important for the monk is that it's not the goal for the monk to be reused in another XR application, but for other CHI professionals to use this hologram technique as part of an XR application. They will develop that with their own content. So that's the connection for something great that has been made to reuse this. Last but not least, our younger audiences are important for us. And I too have two sons myself in the age of 19, 20. They're adults, is what they think. But they are doing things completely different as what we do. They were born to be swiped, maybe a new expression. But I think for our younger audiences, XR is especially compelling with culture for our younger generations in a different way, because it aligns with their other way of living as we did in the past. I still from a generation, and probably many of you as well, that my first mobile phone was somewhere in before 2000. It was weighing 2 kilos and you were walking like this. And now we can do everything on it. We can make the photos, videos, even probably in a few years' time on your own phone. It's so easy to create a 3D model, upload that maybe to EUreka with the right content and the right copyrights, of course. So for our younger generation, it's important that it matches how young people already live in the digital world, that it turns into something that they can participate in. It supports their identity, creating avatars about yourself as well. Combining gaming, art, music, all of the things are interesting. And it enables to co-creation and just not only consumption. That is their way of living. It makes culture feel futuric and playful. This nice image, made by AI, combining the strengths of the young audience with culture. Thank you.
Thank you, Ulrich, with a very inspiring presentation. And we've been listening to a lot of very interesting presentations you have all in this seat. So because people wanted a panel discussion, I want to invite people here on site to ask any questions you want. I will pass the mics and you can address the speaker in question part. And then people online want to ask to use the chat box. Maybe you'll part forward. So your question you can speak and then you'll make sure you get an answer. So, any questions in the audience? Yes.
Good morning, everybody. I just wanted to ask, are there any limitations to the amount of stuff that could be published on the shared hub?
Who would take this question on the EUreka3D-XR? Yes, is to the natural. Sorry.
So in terms of space, we have at the moment plenty of space to store things. So we are using the AGI Federation Cloud. So it means that we are allocating space dynamically. So at the moment we have more than enough that we need for our resources, but in case you need more, we can allocate dynamically more storage, let's say. So in this respect, there is no limitation for storage. The main limitation we might face is because to show these, let's say, models and different experiences, many of them depend also on the client side. So you store the data in the server, but you send it to the client. So the client has to render this data. And this is the main limitation, is the device that the user is using to see the experience, let's say. Thank you.
Any other question? Get this.
So, this is storage. We create the paper and I had that much months whose growth fund will be any for the public, but also for the users to upload even all these fully easy way. First and second, are there any filters or the rights of the things that are uploaded? Someone will filter and say this cannot be shared, uploaded, or commercialized, because I see people uploading things and commercializing it without any permission. Who will manage police?
So as of the data, you can upload the data and you decide you are the owner of the data. So it's not, this is something we put a lot of effort in explaining that we are not scared about. So our models are all only and always stored in European cloud, normally managed by member states. So it means that all the national providers from the main European countries are the ones providing this infrastructure, which makes a totally different scenario. So our intention is not commercial. We want to help communities, research communities, so it's totally different. We don't want to make money. We don't want to use the data. So once you use the data hub, you are in charge, or you are the owner of your data. So you can decide whether to publish it in Europeana or share it with some communities or different organizations around. And you decide this. So it's not something we impose. We just give you the tools and then you can use them as you prefer. The only limitation I would say is that if you publish in Europeana, this will be public domain. So it's for people to reuse. But you don't have to do it if you don't want to. So you can keep it for yourself and you can just say with a few communities, you can just keep it privately. So you just store it because you need to store this data and keep it safely. But you decide what to do in the AI. So, yeah.
Thank you.
May I complement a little bit just a comment what Nacho already explained. Since the data hub is intended as an instrument for cultural heritage institutions to store their data safely, there is not a public presentation. It is not about dissemination of it. It's an instrument. It is a UR server. Then, from the data hub, everything is already ready and already in place and used to publish in Europeana. That is the discovery platform. So when you go from the data hub to Europeana, the control is on the side of Europeana. And the first level of control is that each content is complemented with metadata. And in the metadata, it's mandatory to have the full description of the rights that are associated with the content. And in these rights, you can publish open access, public domain. You can publish Creative Commons with certain conditions in the reuse, or you can publish under copyright. So it is when you move from your storage to the discovery that the control occurs.
Thank you. Maybe one more question from our on-site audience before we move on to the online questions. Unless everything is completely clear for you. Okay. Okay, then I will pass one of the mics to Susanna, who is managing the online chats. Yes, thank you, Excel. Okay.
Go ahead.
I think we have 3 questions on the chat online. And one is it possible to estimate the amount of staff time required for the complete creation of an avatar using the described workflow? I will pass the mic to Nejma to answer this question.
I would say, first of all,
it's a bit complicated because it depends on the expertise level of each person, and if the person are used to work, for example, with software, it could be 2D software, 3D software. So if you, I mean, it depends really on the person. But what I suggest is really to first, we always need to read carefully and to see the video instruction how to do the avatar, and then to start doing step by step the creation process. And of course, the process is not complicated at all. It's just a matter of how we say training. So we need to be trained, and I mean, I think for the person who is trained, then it will maybe take kind of 1 hour to create your avatar, and then to put it for the animation, and you have an animated avatar. But training is very important. I mean, it's not that you are just going to download the software and to see the tutorial and do it directly. So you need to understand a bit, and then once you understand, I think it can be done in 1 hour with this workflow. This is the basic workflow.
Thank you, Netra. And maybe to add from the point of view from the capacity building, for each of the tools, we will publish when the tools are finally released, a full stack of manuals, guidelines, step-by-step clear recipes and tutorials and demonstration videos to make sure that everyone can start experimenting with these tools. Susanna.
Yes, if we have time, there are a couple of more questions. Someone asked if there has been any user testing experiences, like with members of the public using avatars-led experience, and what was the feedback?
I think I can answer this question, but maybe Nejma, if you want to add something. At this point, we have not yet tested with the external users. But within the project consortium, we have did some tests and also plans to test this in Cyprus in the event in May. Yes.
Okay, then there is a question, I think, for Albert. That is any user data available for interaction with cultural subjects on Europeana? Example given, what are the most popular subjects? How many visits does Europeana pages receive per month, and from whom?
Is everything clear? Any question for you?
Yeah, but maybe not so easy to answer. So, yeah, thank you. No, so Europeana gets about 500,000 visitors per month. Sometimes a little bit above, depending in what time of the season it is. So, I think what is becoming more popular is also that people can create their own galleries. So there's a nice sign in. You can create your own gallery, make it public or not. You can just create a private gallery as well. And we try to make it more interactive also in the future. And hopefully with more beautiful content, but we need the CHIs and our aggregators for this. So, I think I don't know at the top of my head what the most popular items are that people look for, but I think that's really on, personal interest. But yeah, I think there are a lot of opportunities and good visibility, and I hope all of you also can help us to create more visibility and to address the great content we have coming from you all. To showcase that to much more audiences.
Thank you, Albert. And sadly, we don't have time for any more questions. I think there are 2 more questions in the chat, but I'm looking at David to see if we have 2 more. Yeah? Okay, go ahead.
Yes, I think these are rather relevant. One question is maybe we can have brief answers since we're running out of time. But one is, are XR Studios and 3D Builder, as the other tools presented, planned to be released as open source project on GitHub?
I think so, but I'm looking for a yes. Very brief answer, yes.
Okay, perfect. And then another question is, I see a lot of 3D content available via Europeana. is still hosted on sketchfab.com? And are there any plans to assist organizations to migrate their 3D data and metadata to more suitable and sustainable platforms? This is a very relevant question. I'm looking at Albert and Antonella. Albert.
Well, not all the 3D models are hosted at Sketchfab. We have using the Sketchfab viewer. So there's more content also towards others. We know, and we had yesterday quite some interesting discussions. Also, Commission is not so keen in continuing using Sketchfab because it's a US company, commercial. Although they have offices in France, it's still a US company, and we know that the Commission is really not so much towards using more US tools. Yeah, Diego, correct? Yes, we will look into other opportunities. We do not host the data ourselves. It's hosting at source, more or less. But I think it's interesting to continue the discussion where and what kind of platforms we can use to host our 3D data. And then it's quite easy to use a different viewer. I think next to Sketchfab, there are other 3D viewers that we already use in EUreka3D. But yeah, the discussion will be continued.
Thank you. And if you have any more questions, we have a Q&A plans for after the panel session. And you can always reach out in the chat if you're online or via email and other social media platforms. So then I give the word to Helena.
Well, so welcome to this roundtable. It is titled the potential of 3D for cultural heritage. So we'll explore how 3D technologies are transforming the way we document, observe, we study, and of course, we share the cultural heritage across different sectors. So that's why I'm very happy to have here our participants that represent different sectors, different areas from the cultural heritage umbrella, let's say. So I'd like to firstly introduce Drew Baker and Maria Taciti, both of them from CUT, the Cyprus University of Technology, and actually also working at the Digital Heritage Research Lab at this university. So thanks for joining. Then Vincent Dichard, he's the director of Bibracte, the museum and archaeological site in France. David Iglesias, you know him from the early morning. He's the head of Department of Photography and Visual Records at CRDI, Center for Image Research and Dissemination at the GCC Council. And Albert Sierra is a new technology specialist from the Catalan Agency for Cultural Heritage. So thank you all for being here today. And you can see that they are, of course, representing different sectors. So this would let us begin with the first question or topic. So I would like to divide this roundtable in three main topics. Of course, you are free to add anything that you consider very honest as besides these questions. So the first would be about the role of 3D in his different cultural heritage sectors. And I'd like to ask you to briefly explain what 3D makes possible in your areas, and how 3D is changing your professional practices or your way of working. And then, of course, we can go deeper in this topic. So, maybe who would read the bit you realize it's
So I can start me representing artists. So when you stop taking the use of CD for archives started to be the set that what you do you adapt that are really almost very well. However, you discover that in your collection there are objects. For example, photograph collection, there are best collections, or the Toshi here. And this objects in the model that you better understand of the full object. Also, it's used for preservation, so the discover returns us. Otherwise, are impossible to see. So, okay. So that's the more obvious thing. What is an object? I mean, that even all the elements that are part of this context, like a lab, like lab, or different object related to visual culture, that in our case, like the Center of Image Art Research concerns. So this is the obvious part for the 3D. But then the next step is the use of the records, textual records, maps, photos for the creation of 3D. And that this is what we are doing in this project. And this is the real potential for archives, is where we transform it, we do an interpretation of these records, and we can create new narratives in order to explain, in our case, for example, the walls of Girona, the ones that were demolished. So we can create something that people can trust, because this is another issue. You can create nowadays with software different kind of animations, different kind of interpretation of images, etc. But it's difficult to trust this. For example, I follow a WhatsApp list, and people like covering the images, but the images that I see them from our collection are no, I cannot, not just because they are, but they are idealized. They are always, if you go to the details, elements that transform the reality of the photography. And the photography was itself a transformation of reality, of course, but that makes something strange for a historian or researcher. So I think we need to rebalance to see the potential on this, but to be strict on the on how we create these new objects for research, for dissemination, and so. Because for archives, is characteristic of archives is that people can trust on what we have. We are the house of memory, also the house of rights, of personal rights, but the other topic, the house of memory, we need that people trust them. So it is probably the risk. There are a lot of potential, say, that we should assess the real possible.
So I know it don't sound like to act as you are working as a archaeological site, but also connected to documentation in affairs.
Okay, so the archivist also destroy some documents, and some points make selections. So there's can also preserve documents of the digital archive. So it's all the more important for archaeology, because archaeology it destroys its subject for research. So the first tremendous interest of 3D models is to help us producing digital tweaks of what we destroy in the field. And we do that as a routine task, as a daily task, archaeological excavations today, and we produce huge amounts of data, and the historical, that is technical problem with data. I think it becomes tremendous today. So yes, so archiving, allowing research on digital twin is extremely important for us. So the first ambition, of course, at the scale of archaeological excavation. So you need us examples earlier this morning, but also different scale, the scale of large territory. We know that available LiDAR surveys with very large scale and LiDAR survey, it's just a snapshot of the micro topography of the territory at a very precise time, and monitoring the evolution of territories. Such precision is absolutely fantastic for conservation purposes and also for archaeological research, and at the object scale as well. But first of all, a lot of objects we find as are unlisted objects. and now the possibility to record very precise 3D X-ray tomograph images of objects make it not much better just to preserve the digital twin than the object itself, which is actually possible to observe, and also to have the possibility to manipulate an object when it is fragile in the distance. I think it's a fantastic opportunity for academics, even if it's not so much developed today, because we have got the good repository, the easy accessible from digital models to be done. And of course, for a wider audience, when it was shown this morning, the demonstrations, it's open, the 3D models open, it's a fantastic perspective to make the public understand what we do, the cyber excavator, and share the experience of the artists. That enough?
Yes, thanks, Vincent. So I think this it is maybe to COD, as Vincent was talking about academy and comes do you see it from the start of the research and university, and maybe afterwards I'll like that you work with museums, but also other kind of cultural sites. You can kind of talk.
Yeah. I must say that it's the first time I'm participating in a conference of this nature. I feel a little bit like an outsider because I am not involved so much actually, I'm not involved in technology. I am an art historian, and I am involved in the St. Neophytos project, looking at the art historical information and how this can assist the technological side of the project. Also, yesterday we had a very big discussion with David, and that's why I'm here at this table, about how our field of art could benefit from technology in a way. Still, in the field of Byzantine art, we are working a lot with books, with libraries. Most of our material is not digitized. We have to go to the libraries and search for old books. And also, we still study the material, publish, and sometimes, when needed, we move on to restoration. So, this kind of advanced technology, which is, I would say, in our field, quite advanced, is not so common. And therefore, I've come to realize that what's happening with the project of St. Neophytos is quite groundbreaking in many ways. On one way, because we document, and our colleague from Europeana put it very nicely before, we document and we preserve, and also for this side, which is exposed to nature, because ultimately it is a cave which is being eroded and damaged. Um, we get the documentation we need in order to reconstruct if needed in the future. But also, in terms, I mean, we are doing all of this work, and there are so many important people working in the field of Byzantine, not only Byzantine art, but Byzantine studies in general, manuscripts, and monuments and artifacts. Um, it's the matter of sharing that with the public, with the scholars, and with the public as well. In the case of our years of St. Neophytos, they are speaking a lot about making it accessible to the public. And I think it's such a wonderful way of engaging the public and bringing back to life. I mean, it's a window to the past and to the life of this very important personality, not only for orthodoxy, but also for his contribution to the artistic and cultural legacy. So it's reviving through these means, and it's very important. And the same applies, I think, or would apply to many other artifacts and objects and manuscripts from our field of work, and other fields of art as well. I mean, museums and all sorts of other cultures. Therefore, I think it's very important that this technology now helps us by using the knowledge we provide, and that is, I think, my role in the project. Working with Nejma as well, to bring back to life, to make accessible, and to disseminate what we are learning from Byzantine art, the life and the legacy of this saint. And for many, the fact that he's a saint of Orthodoxy maybe is not so important, but is very important for the collective cultural heritage, his contribution into art and culture and the history of Cyprus at the time, because he wrote a lot of books and he also provides a big view of what was happening in the 12th century in Cyprus. Thank you so much.
Okay. But is this on? Excellent. So I'd like just to ask a very quick question. So why is 3D important? How many people in this room exist in the three-dimensional world? If we're not dealing with 3 dimensions, then we lose the dimensionality. If we lose the dimensionality, we lose meaning from behind things. I'm begging forgiveness from my colleagues, but I always come back to a story which I tell. When I was 8 years old, I got banned from my local museum for life. Why? Because I asked questions. I was there was an object, it was a pot, and it was in a cabinet. And I was told by the museum guide that this was a very, very important pot because it was made by a Romano-British worker from Colchester, the town of my birth. I am a Roman citizen, technically. I'm fascinated. I'm 8 years old. Somebody's saying, I have a connection to this thing. I said, can I see it? And they went, no. I went, why? It's not for you. Well, who's it for? This is my culture. You have just told me that this is really significant. No. I have no access to that. If I'd have had access to it, I might have become a potter. I wanted to see inside because he had said that it was used for cooking. I might have become a wonderful cook. I'm not bad, but that might have inspired me to do something. As it happened, it made me so angry, I took up digital archaeology. So it's a win-lose situation. If we just do, and we'll come back, circle to what we've been saying here, if we just do digitization, all we're doing is we're making a digital copy and we're sticking it on a digital shelf, whether that's in our servers, on the cloud, in EUreka3D. What we need to do is connect this somehow to enable me, you, whoever, to come and take it out virtually and explore it, whether that's manipulating it in 3D space, 4D space, where we bring in time, so we can re-look at the excavation, do reconstructions, digital restorations of things like frescoes, 5 dimensions, probability, that trust factor. There are always different interpretations. So 3D is the start of that. We have all of that information in repositories like EUreka3D. What all of the XR things which we've been talking about today is joining it all together to inspire people, to help people understand what heritage is, and more importantly, their relationship with the past. Because if we understand each other better through our shared connections, then that helps us as a society cope with the problems that we are facing and that we will face in the future, because we have the same point of reference. Here is a glass. I fill it with water. I drink from it, which is the same thing that everybody here in this room knows, understands, and can do. That's why 3D is important, I think. You might have other ideas. following your path. Um, yeah, the world is three-dimensional, and we start to work with 3D because it's the closest that we can get to the reality. So it's the best way because we are so used to work with two-dimensional documentation, the, whatever, that we are not seeing the limitations of the two dimensions. And we are working with 3D. We are free of getting more likely and more close to the reality. So this is important for conservation, for communication, for everything, because you are getting closer to buildings, to objects, to the life of other people that can be like Santiago's, can be depicted in three dimensions around you, talking to you. Uh, in 2018, when we started to work with immersive experiences, uh, every experience that we started to work with started with a 3D capture of the reality. So we thought that in the coming years, this should be the technique that we will be using. And we have done a lot of different workshops with all the kind of cultural heritage professionals to try to teach them the advantages and the kind of uses that we can extract from 3D techniques. And in our institution, that we're like an area of innovation that has been our work in the last years to teach people how to work with 3D, because it's again the closest that we can get to the reality.
Okay, thank you very much for all. I think you raised many important points, and you even went a bit farther in another question about the audience engagement than Maria and Drew already mentioned and commented on, and of course also other questions related to risk that you take when working on 3D, as David was also mentioning. So, but still in the topic of the importance of 3D or what 3D is changing in your professional practice, I would like to know, how do you see 3D as a bridge between your different sectors? So if you see that these sectors somehow meet thanks to the work on 3D. So I don't know, maybe David, of course, all of you are involved in European projects, you know each other, so it's really proved that you are collaborating. So there is a bridge, of course, that is already built among you. But I would like to know if you can shortly explain how do you see this intersection or this bridge among your subsectors in cultural heritage?
Short and concrete. Because we are now starting working with an avatar, with Nejma that made the presentation before. So our avatar will be a woman that was part of a company that was Santa Barbara, that defended the city during the French War at the beginning of the 19th century. So this avatar, this woman, will explain from her point of view different aspects of the war from a women point of view, that it's not frequent. But how it works, at the archive we have the documents. We can approximate an idea. We can have an idea of how these women were, how they were dressed, behaviors, etc. So this has been done. We already made a report. Nila Petit, also with Elena, they wrote a dossier. They compiled the images, etc. So we can at least have an idea of how they are, because they are only represented in paintings, because it's before photography. Okay. Then we need a scenario. our cartography department in the city council, they capture little data of different parts of the city. So we have scenarios in the old city where the barbarians lived and where in the places they defended the city, etc. So we have scenarios provided by this little data that are transformed, okay? And then we need to create a narrative and explain this in a frame that is that give context. And this is the history museum where there is rooms dedicated to the French War and where the representation of paintings of barrows, etc., exists. So that explains how we need to collaborate. I cannot think doing something like this isolated. So I guess this answers the question.
Yes, totally. I don't know if Albert, would you like to add something on this, as you are also working in a very, say, wide way
Yes,
with the Catalan Agency?
I'm a little pessimistic about this. I don't think that 3D helps to build the teams with specialists from different fields. I always have worked with this kind of multi knowledge teams, but as I've said before, we are working with conservation specialists, archaeologists, architects, all kind of cultural heritage professionals, and you normally find two kind of approaches, not to 3D but to cultural heritage. One is that they can be specialists on their perspective, but are open to other perspectives and other professionals, and other people, and depending on the percentage, they are always focused on their specific fields, and they cannot build anything outside of that field, because they understand the world from that point of view, and they cannot understand anything outside that small room. Obviously, we are trying to do the first approach, and probably 95% of the people who are here, it's closer to this approach. But you always find someone that is just archaeologist and see the world as an archaeologist or archivist or whatever, or a historian as I am. And I don't think 3D helps on that matter. I'm sorry about that.
Drew, would you like to add something? Yes, please.
I think you're right to be skeptical. So 3D isn't the panacea. And I think that there is a temptation to over fetishize technology and say, oh, this is the next greatest thing, without thinking about how it's used. What 3D does give us, when we're working collaboratively, and we must work collaboratively, otherwise we have that monovocal viewpoint, is something that we can all look at and experience. So we have a virtual object that we can pin in, and if that's spatial context, I can walk through with an archaeologist, with a conservator, with somebody who has archival records, and go, what is that? Without actually having to be there. We can all share that same experience, coming back to our virtual experiences, to be able to collaborate. So the 3D space and 3D artifacts becomes a common touch point, which we can all start to share our knowledge. Now, whether that is the thing which we are discussing or whether we are creating something more is a different discussion to have. But it becomes that catalyst and a focal point that enables us to start learning and to start bringing that knowledge together.
But you don't need 3D to build a team from different perspectives. You can do that even from just a story, just the story of that pot, even if you don't have the 3D pot.
if we're talking about something in 3D space, it makes sense to use 3D, and it's the right tool for the right job.
Yes, in the same direction. I don't exactly agree with you, I must say. That's typically these 3D models are what some people call hybrid objects, because they can easily be used by specialists in different fields and by a much wider audience. You can immediately understand just this 3D model. And a very good example of that is the interpretation of LiDAR surveys. LiDAR surveys can be used by archaeology geographers, people who just are developers, and everybody was interested by all the traces of the past. And this every day, I've got information from amateurs. So that means the possibility to share the same object, and it is a fascinating object, the 3D models, helps creating a community. And if you want to try to make connections with between with the wide public, wide audience, it's also a way to force the specialists to work together so as to share their expertise with a wider audience. So no, I think that there's a lot of potential with that. It's probably not so much used today, but I'm quite optimistic on this point of view.
Great, thanks. It's great to see how you have all of your different visions. We have Albert's pessimistic, skeptical, and then more optimistic vision. But of course, you also raised, Vincent, the topic of the data services. And I think that this can let us shift from what is more the practice to the strategies and policies. So as you work in different sectors, but also at different territorial levels. So we have the local administration with the Ajuntament de Girona, Girona City Council, the regional level with the Catalan Agency for Cultural Heritage. So, and of course, all of you are working under the framework of Europe and working in European projects. So I would like to ask you how these strategies in your respective contexts are supporting for you the 3D digitization and the reuse of 3D. And maybe from CUT, I don't know, you've been, of course, taking part in a very relevant EU study for the quality of 3D digitization. So maybe you can share your view on this.
Yes, we are back on. Okay. Thank you for the question. So we're all doing a lot of work in to prepare models, think about models, and to integrate models. And that's all and good. It comes back to the same problem of the digital pot on the digital shelf. So how do we start to look at that in a different way? So we all know about paradata. We all know about metadata. We should all be knowing about paradata, and we should all be knowing about data. So all of those those three factors all need to come together. So we need to know how it was done, how it was created, why it was created, under what circumstances it was created to enable reuse. With the digital scanning of St. Theophilus, the raw files were 32 gigabytes of data. I'm not sure how technical you might be, but is 32 gigabytes of data going to run on a mobile phone? Yes, that would be no, it's not. So what we have to think about is how we can get that high quality verifiable, let's say, scientific data into our repositories and set up the ways of being able to manipulate that data. I don't want to say degrade the data because that's the wrong term, but have the right size of data to be able to use for the right reasons, and to be able to have that audit trail of authenticity back along the line, so it's traceability. And that's going to become more important as we see non-human actors coming in, accessing data to non-human actors, AI, coming in to use that data and repurpose that data. And what kind of checkpoints do we have to ensure that the view of the data, the view of our culture, the view of our history that we're being told can be authenticated? Do we believe what the machine is telling us?
Um, there is a lot of different answers to a so big question that you have done. But for example, again, following his words, we are scanning objects or buildings on purpose because there is a project after this this selection of this element. But we are always scanning with the best quality that we can afford to take, because mm, after this first capture, you don't know the kind of uses that this data will have. So we have a master file with all the quality that we have been able to acquire. And after that, we have a different outputs for communication, smaller versions for whatever publication on the internet or mobile phones we have, but also for other, for virtual reality environments, for immersive experiences, and also lately, very close to the virtual reality size and textures, virtual production, for example, for the film industry, because they are using more and more the 3D models of big spaces or landscapes or whatever, to build like the old green screen, but now these are LED screens that with a 3D engine, they are moving around the cameras so they can film in a studio, things that are practically outdoors spaces. So that is our approach, but there is also a lot of questions about this. Can we sustain the conservation of all these data for the future? Should we keep all that data? What is the cost? What is the availability? How we can put this all these data, the smaller versions and the bigger ones, in the hands of the general audiences? So there is a lot of unanswered questions right now, and this is a very interesting time to be alive because all this is just building up right now with the participation of Europeana and EUreka3D. We are seeing the first blocks of this building of 3D data in European level to build, but it's not a, um, a complete setup done right now. We are building right now, I think.
Yes, I would like to answer this question more from the national policy point of view, because we as a city council, we have needs for digitizing now is 3D, but in the 90s when we started, it was 2D digitization, of course. So at that time, there were no national policies. We were, as every archive in the country, we were taking our decision, learning from the experience of digitizing with the technology we had at that time, and trying to preserve these files in the best way we could. So this there was a clear evolution on this during the years. So this small island that started in the 90s of the 20th century now is a big island with millions of files, with good quality digitization, etc. But still is an island because the national policies exist in a way, but it doesn't exist in the way we need. They don't provide services, they don't provide infrastructures. So it's not a pessimistic view. It just there are other islands, and now we are connected. European projects, for example, connect us with these islands of knowledge. So we get services, from example, from the data hub when we digitize in 3D. We receive advice from Albert, from Giravolt, Catalan government, and we have this connection with EUreka3D to show our stuff, etc. So what I mean is that really what we would need is this umbrella institution that give us some services, some infrastructures that give answer to the requirements we did. And this is still something that is not at least consistent. When you need to digitize the whole country and you start from zero at the 20th century, you need a specialist, you need expertise, you need technology, but mainly you need to create a factory because you are transforming this, and this is a process that is very clear. And after, when you have the products that you can start, we can start with our work, with our responsibility, that is to create these memory twins and to create narratives and to facilitate the use of all this heritage for the community. So I will say that I am optimistic in a way that we are evolving and with some results, but the umbrella is still not there, not at all.
We need that umbrella, yes, in a warehouse.
Okay, thanks to all of you. And yes, while we are working towards this umbrella, at least we have, as you, David, highlighted, the value of your projects as EUreka3D that work for infrastructure, methodology, and everything that you've been mentioning. And also, I think it is very relevant that Albert also talked about the diversity of applications that 3D can have. And now, I think as we are running out of time, we can move to our last topic. So now I'd like to move to the audience. They mentioned that Marie Andrew already pointed the beginning of this conversation. So we can see how 3D is increasingly used in XR experience. Actually, we are witnessing this through the project. All of you are involved in EUreka3D-XR, from CRDI, Bibracte, CUT, and of course, Albert Sierra from Generalitat de Catalunya. You are all also collaborating with this and the previous project. So there are some questions that we could maybe talk about, but mainly it would be how should these experiences that use 3D in XR reach users, and if this is changing the way of reaching new users, maybe new visitors, final users finally, and maybe if it's changing the way of reaching the existing audience, but in a deeper way that we've been done until now. And also, maybe this also brings us to the question on the mediation that from Bibracte you've been, I think you have a lot of experience in mediation education, and maybe you can also share how is your experience or maybe your expectations on this. So that would be our last topic to discuss.
Well, I think it's difficult to reply because we haven't got enough feedback, I think, for a long period to try to evaluate, to be able to evaluate the impact of these technologies. And we don't use them as a routine today. It's still experimental. But in all case, it's really clear that we want to keep the focus on real life, real places. And basically, well, we propose the people to visit a unique existing site, which is you will never experience it anywhere else in the world, or you will not experience it the same way on a screen. And all these technologies should be used just to enhance the experience of visiting a real site and not replace it first. That's very, very important. And in terms of mediation for us, I think we are very careful just to keep the good balance for that. And that's why human mediation is always the best. Anyway, much better than any technology. Just people telling nice stories is the best way to catch the attention of people, whoever they are. Reaching new audiences, I think we are far from it at the moment. I must say. So we hardly discuss the subject of games. So we had an image was shown this morning. I think very sadly the young people, they spend all their time on the screen playing things I don't understand. And so should we try to invest this kind of media to focus the attention of the younger generation to the cultural heritage? Is it possible? I don't know. I'm too old to have an opinion on that. I must say. I leave that to others. Other people seem to believe that it's possible, but it's next projects with European funding and the possibility to use games in a more field, okay, of cultural heritage and new pathways to reach users. Yes, I'm really optimistic, even if we don't do so much at the moment. But you've seen some demos this morning, so we are in the right way. And that I think that we will have much more to propose in the close future.
Thanks. So I don't know, maybe Maria and Drew, would you like to comment on this? As you've been mentioning before, I think it's a very nice expression, like bringing back to life, bringing San Neophytos back to life. I think it is really appropriate for the experience that you are working with. And also you talked about engagement. So what are, maybe you still cannot, I mean, you don't have the experience as Vincent, but maybe you already have expectations, of course, on this.
And maybe similar feedback from other cases. So I would like to say that if a visitor goes today to this cave, which is at the westernmost side of Cyprus, basically you go up the staircase, you enter. There is not much information. There is no permanent guide there. You can buy a guidebook from the bookstore of the monastery, which is right opposite. And then it's up to each visitor how much time wants to invest there. If someone is willing to read the text, and then the visitor will go away. Last week I was in the Englistra, and I stayed there for about 2.5 hours. There were a few tourists coming in. There was a couple who just came in from one door. They walked through. They left on the other side. By the way, it's carved in the stone, and there is no much lighting. It's little dark as well. And then there was another lady who came. She was, I think, Chinese, and she said she was very much interested in this in Orthodox theology, and she started asking lots and lots of questions. The archimandrite was there, and I was there, and she spent more than half an hour in the cave. Um, I think that definitely, if you have these 3D and the XR options, you will definitely get more involved. People who don't want to read and they don't have much time, at least they will be able to hear and to be guided. Because if you go in a space which is totally unknown and it's just painted all over, but you don't know what you're looking for, and there's nobody there to help, you will just, like the first couple come in, walk in, have a look like that, and get out from the other door. If you have this option, at least you will be able to listen, you will be able to guide it. It is very fascinating that the sand will appear in front of you. I'm sure you will learn something more than just being there by yourself and without any assistance. Therefore, I am optimistic, and I've seen from other exhibitions, I mean, in my field, that when you have this extra experience, which is beyond the traditional, and it doesn't require much effort either, because if you're a specialist, you have the natural interest to delve into these things, read, learn. But if you're a tourist, if you're just a student, maybe because we aspire to bring um, schools closer to that. And I mean, you need to have something more attractive and more modern. And the way we live, these are the contemporary means which give access to lots of things. So why not in art and this ancient kind of art as well? Therefore, I think that the impact will be positive. It will give information to people who wouldn't otherwise be much willing to make the effort. Um, I think it will be more attractive because it will be accessible through other means as well. So might create the interest to visit the Englistra. And for me, it's equally important that we will be able to show how these means can serve the dissemination and knowledge of Byzantine art, which the first group of people you described before, they are those which are not very willing to engage, but still they produce a lot of knowledge. So we can take advantage of this knowledge and make it accessible to the general public, to more specialized, inspire more specialists to employ them. And also, from my point of view, and this is my personal opinion, in in an era where people look at technology a lot and how we can advance more and more and more, I think it's important to find ways, and this is, in my opinion, a way to convince people that the past is also relevant, and it's a way of studying the past and attracting people to you know study and consider it, you know for our future, for preserving, for it's the natural continuation, and we have to adapt to this.
We are running now a very big project that is called Ulls de la Història, the Eyes of History, and which we are implementing VR rooms with shared experiences. The people who is doing the experience are seeing each other, in which you travel back in time to the time of the build of the church, or the time when the rock art paintings were done. But and it has been a tremendous success. We have done in 5 different monuments that they are on site in a special room, obviously. But also we have a educational version that is traveling by the schools in Catalonia. We have reached 5,000 students last school year, and we are aimed to 10,000 students this year. And the success is tremendous because they are not seeing things, but they are living there. They are traveling to the past, and they are living the past with the characters that the teachers are telling about. So it's a completely different approach, and we have seen a very important increase in the number of people who is approaching this cultural heritage venues or monuments, but also a change of the people who is coming. People who is not coming normally to cultural heritage buildings are now coming because of this experience. But we are not only uh, putting a technological device there, but we are also changing the stories that we told, that we tell. Uh, we are telling it's not new, but a new kind of history where everyone can be involved, not just kings and queens, and where women appears, and there is not just men talking about what you should do, and there is a more inclusive way of seeing the past. So we are using technology to explain the history in a different way, and it's working really, really well. So
If I could add only one more comment, in this period where people are scrolling and scrolling and they just want things to happen fast, I think it's also our responsibility to find ways to offer this knowledge, which is so important for us and important for humanity and our history, to give it to them in the way they would like to. Because the general audience, I think, is very important. And I just have one small comment about my own experience. A few years ago, I was in Rome and I just saw the Arapaches and I decided to go and see the Arapaches, which I studied many years ago as a student. I thought maybe I will revive a bit of my knowledge, but really, it's evening, it was a late opening. I don't have the time to spend. I just, it's like my moral obligation, a way to go and see since it's there. And I went and I was really planning to stay 10 minutes to go around and then just move on. And I was very surprised because they had this 3D. Yes, exactly. And in the end, not only I didn't leave, not only I saw the whole thing twice, I called my colleagues who were still at the restaurant. I said, "You really have to come and see." And so I'm really very positive about using these modern means in order to attract new audience. And I think it's going to be, a good like result rather than disappointing.
Thanks, Maria. I think this is very important how meaningful can be this kind of experience. And we need to conclude. Maybe David, you want to add something, and then we will.
About this question about the audience, because I live in a very small village that is not touristic at all. There are 3 restaurants, so people stop there for the restaurant, having lunch, whatever. And also the bakery is not bad, so they also stop for the bakery. But a bit separated, there are a construction with wood that a crazy man that was a genius in the 70s, 80s. He created a town with her own hands, himself alone, and with the material he had there, so something very special. So there are some vestiges of this town there, and people after the restaurant, after the bakery, they go there and they visit this place, and there is not much to see, and there are not explanation. There is nothing for the tourists. It's just they go there in the middle of nowhere, in the middle of the nature, and okay, they visit this. Uh, Giravolt, they had the understanding and the knowledge that this is raw art. So they assessed the possibility to digitize this in 3D, and they did this work, and they are still working on this and creating XR experiences, etc. So this is becoming something really meaningful for the heritage. So what is the potential audience for the 3D? The potential audience are all these people that go by car and stop there to see this. Hmm? That means everybody is a potential, but we still don't know, as Van Sang said, who is interested in our final product on 3D. So that depends on the communication, like it happens now with the real work of this man there, because why they stop there to see these strange things, just because they are informed about this and they have the curiosity, and everybody is doing the same. So communication will be essential, and mainly the capacity of creating narrative. What will be the narrative that Giravolt will create or is creating with this? Depending on this, we will be more successful and the audience will be bigger. So these are probably the key points for the new audience.
Thank you very much. I think it is with Maria's and David experiences in Rome and in the little village in La Garrocha. I think it's a good way to conclude this conversation. So we could extend it for a long time, but we are really running out of time. So thank you very much, all of you, for your insightful contributions. And now we will move forward to the last presentation of this morning session. By colleagues from the Archaeological Museum of Catalonia in Ullastret. And I think your experience is very well connected to Vincent's idea about this balance between real life and XR experiences. So it's great to have you here, and please join us here in the stage.
Well, thank you, our colleagues of Ajuntament de Girona for invite here to present our project. He's Miquel Lleixà is from EUreka3D, and he presents our project, and me, I'm Laura from el Museu d'Arqueologia de Catalunya Ullastret, and then when he finished, I tried to explain why and how we implemented this project in our archaeological site. Okay, Miquel?
Thank you very much, Nora. Thank you very much to the Girona City Council for having invited us. Okay, you have presented me, but usually I'm Miquel from EUreka3D. I briefly present who we are and what we do. EUreka3D is a research center, an innovation center. That means that we have a team of researchers in advanced digital technologies, mostly in connectivity, IoT, 5G, 6G, but also in blockchain, cybersecurity, and media tech, immersive technologies. In the round table, you were talking about the importance of the institutional context. So we are working closely with the government of Catalonia in a digital and social strategy to connect all the agents of the territory to the innovation ecosystem, and to foster the competitiveness and to reduce the digital divides. For us, it's very important. That's how we get to work with agents like the Archaeological Museum. We are spread all around the Catalonian territory in 8 different areas, and in each area we work with particular sectors which are important for this area. For instance, here in Girona, mostly we work with the health sector, the agri-food sector, and the cultural heritage and tourism. Okay, just to present some of the experiences, immersive experiences that we carried out last year in 2025, for instance, in the field of health and culture. As I have said, is one of the important sectors. For instance, we have worked in a project called the Immersive Concert. This was really an emotional project for us because the objective was offering an immersive experiences or a live concert to people for whatever reasons can attend presentially these cultural events. In this case, we have been working collaborating with the Hospital of Figueras, the social care center of Figueras, with this patient, which you can see in the slide, which is Kerry. Kerry is a person with a severely reduced mobility. He has tetraplegia, and what we have offered is the possibility to attend a live concert here in Girona. She's in a hospital in Figueras, which is a town 40 kilometers in the north of Girona. He could attend this concert with 360 degrees cameras located all around the concert hall, and to live this experience as if she was in the concert hall, with the possibility of changing the perspective of the camera only with the eyes, with the movement of the eyes, because he can't move the hands. So this was really a very interesting and emotional experience to see her to leave this concert, 1 hour of concert, without taking off the glasses. We try to always work with local companies. In this case, we have worked with a technological partner, a company which is called EUreka3D, which gave the technical background. Okay, and going to immersive technologies in cultural heritage, and before talking specifically of the Ullastret project, I wanted also to talk about a project that we have made here in Girona. It is related also with the reconstruction of, in this case, an emblematic site, which is Torre Gironella. Torre Gironella, for people who are in Girona, it's very well known. It's an emblematic site that has been submitted to different alias in the history. Now it is demolished. But the objective of this project was to offer an immersive and an educational experience, allowing the visitor to interactively explore this emblematic monument. In this case, we have worked with a training center of Girona. I completely agree with Albert that for us, the connection with these educational centers and with young students is really important. It really gives you another approach, and it allows you to see other ways of doing things, which is really interesting. Okay, and finally, and the center one in the object of the presentation, the collaboration with the archaeological heritage, the Archaeological Museum of Ullastret. We have carried out a project who tried to combine the 3D experience with the connectivity, because we also tried to prove and to test the 5G connectivity in the site. So the objective was offering the visitor an interactive experience, giving him the possibility of revive the ancient book. Later on, Laura will give you more context of this site, which has been lived by Iberian people. I think chronologically is more or less the same time as Bibracte in France. No, it's protohistoric people that lived there. So here again, we work with a company, with a local technological partner, which is Tururut Art Infographic. The starting point of this project was a workshop like the one we are living today with local agents who presented their challenges, and finally the one of Julia said was selected. There were a repository of 3D images in the museum that it was interesting to recover and to upgrade, as Antonella said in the introduction, how we can take the most of these repositories, of these existing digital contents to bring new experiences. So we have selected 5 locations. Later on, you will explain more than I. In the museum, the main entrance, the external walls, the aristocratic houses, the Rishak Island, because at this time the village was surrounded by water, and finally the temple. So these are 5 emblematic locations. It's a shame that we won't be able to visit, because, as you know, part of the external wall has been damaged because of the storm. So it will not be possible to visit the village. But okay, so you have integrated all this content through QR codes to give this experience. We have finished a first phase, and now in 2026 we are starting a second phase of this project, which what we want is to enriching the current visit itinerary by incorporating new points of interest. And we want to add new digital contents, new three-dimensional elements, integrate all this content, and improve some aspect, the consistency and continuity of the visit experience, adjusting the narrative and giving them more AR stability to the contents, to the QR code reading, to the connectivity, the 5G connectivity, in order to improve the visitor experience. And to talk from this perspective of the visitor, I will give the floor to Laura. So the floor is yours to continue.
Thank you.
Presentation.
Yes, thank you very much. Okay. For who don't knows where and what is Ullastret, Iberian City, we are an archaeological site who is emplaced in the northeast of Catalonia, in l'Empordà. It's not far from here. And Miquel says Ullastret is similar for Bibracte. So it's a prehistoric archaeological site. We have different places to visit. Have the archaeological site, and also a little museum with the pieces who are founded in the archaeological diggings. This museum and this archaeological site, it's open to visit all the year, and more or less each year we have between 25,000 or 30,000 visitors. 4,000 of them are students, scholar and children. So we thinks and we works to make more easy our information and our explains to the visitor. And in this site, we use 3D reconstructions and digitalization projects to make more easy the explains to our visitors, because when we digging, when we make an excavation, we have a lot of information from different periods from different things. And if you visit this archaeological site and make and try and make a panorama from the information, it's so difficult from some people. Then the reconstructions, the 3D reconstructions made easy this transfer this information from the visitor. In 216, we inaugurate an immersive room with a 3D reconstruction. This is the archaeological sites, and this is the image of the 3D. And this room transferred this information for the visitor. Also, we made a glasses, a 3D glasses. Albert can explain all with detail because he was the room, no, of this project. And then the project that we want to present, the 5G project that Miquel introduced, take these images, 3D images that of the immersive room, and and back to the put on the archaeological site in the tour. Okay, we have panels outside of the archaeological site, and in each one panel of these 5 points that which select, okay, we have a QR with the information, and the visitors can scan this QR and choose the point. And when you uy ba, porque se me salto. When choose the point, you can see like with a screen the reality on your put and the 3D reconstruction of this point. This screen is we hope is a good view to place the visitor in the archaeological site and interpret it correctly the 3D reconstruction. And this type of QR and 3D reconstruction you can see on ¿cómo se dice en 360 grades around, okay? In this slide, you can see the screen that one of the points, okay? And now Oscar from Tururut give us the date base of the searches or las baixadas, the downloads, sorry, from web, and we observed that a lot of our visitors make this option of the quest. So we planned to make surveys on our visitors to try know their opinion and try to make better these squares and these 3D options in the next project we started this 2026. A Giravolt is another type of 3D 3D project. This 3D project scan objects and make us easy transfer these objects to the students, to the visitors, and also to the scientifics what could want make some consult or some information. So for us, we thinks and works it for digital and make 3D of archaeological site and all objects to facilitate of all visitors the comprehension of all museum, all archaeological sites, and all collections. Thanks. Ya, sí, podem seure, no?
Sí.
Thank you for your presentation. We have very little time. It's on? Yeah, better. So we have very little time for a Q&A, sadly. But before I give the word to Antonella for the closing remarks, I want to hear, are there any pressing questions in the audience for one of the panelists or the people from Uljastret? No questions. Okay, there was one question online that I wrote down. I'll read it. There were a few questions. We will get in touch. But one question I think it will bring me to the closing remarks of Antonella, we'll see, is, and to maybe that can sum up today's program. And the question is, where should a cultural heritage organization upload their 3D data today for A, long-term storage of large data sets, and B, for online interactive display and dissemination? So you can take it.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for the question that in fact brings us to the right conclusion. Well, as I said before, one thing is storage for preservation, for documentation, for the cultural institution to keep safely the result of the digitization. Another story is the dissemination. And these two tasks are different because they need different interfaces and they are targeting different users. So, where to store the data? This continues to be the key question here. And we addressed it in the initial presentation where we presented the EUreka3D Data Hub. We went through it through questions because even if we were here, so we are not the authors of these questions. You have seen me sitting there, so I was not the author, but I was surprised as the people online are asking this question. We have a need from cultural heritage institutions that are investing in 3D digitization to be certain where this 3D can go. Because now we know that the Sketchfab is not the solution. We just saw Sketchfab in your presentation. So we have the addiction to use Sketchfab because it was easy, because it was a solution to experiment. But now we have to go beyond. It was said in many different tables. There is the EUreka3D Data Hub, which is a solution. I cannot pretend that it is the unique solution. But if there are others, please show up. At the moment, we see only this. So please take it into a serious account, help us to develop a full business plan where cultural heritage institutions are ready to pay for this storage, as we do. Everybody who published something online pays the cloud to store the data. We have the servers on the cloud and we pay for this service. So the Data Hub is a similar service. It should be economic, trustful, connected well with the European initiatives, the data space in the first place, but then there is also the cloud, the collaborative cloud, EOSC. There are different solutions that the Commission is implementing, so it should be well connected. So far we are. And if there are other solutions, please get in contact and try to develop a range of offer to the cultural heritage institutions. Today it was a nice combination of this lower level problem to be addressed, that remains the problem, and the second problem that comes immediately after, that is what to do with this 3D. Because we digitize, it costs. We need to digitize in high quality to give a longer life to the digital contents. We have to store safely in a place that is European, that remains in Europe. This is really the wrong time to give our data to US companies. I think that on this now everybody agrees in Europe. But then what do we do with this big investment to produce 3D? I think that today we had some ideas. We have seen some possibilities. Again, these are just a few ideas, but we have seen the use of AI to reconstruct something that does not exist anymore, but it is documented in the archives, the city walls of Girona. We have seen the discovery of something that has been done in an archaeological site, but then covered. So we walk on the grass and we imagine what is on our under our feet. We have seen the avatars coming out from medieval frescoes, and the same avatar created with the Santa Barbara lady from Girona. So we have seen Ulstret applications. So there are applications that are coming out. They are possible. There is not a standard application the same for everybody. There it is the creativity of the cultural institution together with the developers to give life to our ideas. And we will never stop to insist that developers need to be together with the cultural experts, and cultural experts need to be together with the developers, because if this connection is broken, then we have a fantastic IT application that has no cultural value, or a fantastic cultural story that has no possibility to be implemented. So it is a multidisciplinary environment, it is a networking, it is learning how to talk the same language. It is a question of solving the basement, because a house without a basement does not survive. And it is a question of encountering, to exchange ideas. So thank you again very much to CRDI, because the opportunity to be together today was extremely informative and encouraging to explore more the possibilities of the IT. But after lunch, we have not finished, because this afternoon we try hands-on. Maybe is less theoretically inspiring, but it is a hands-on experience that we also need. So thank you again, everybody, for attending the whole morning. And Agate, please. Calcio.
Hi everybody. If you want to test as NTUA
a demo application in the little square next to the building. You have the explanation on paper to upload the application and test 4 points of interest in the career and the little square after lunch or during lunch. And Leonidas and me can help you to have the hand of the application.
Thank you very much. And please stay here for the lunch that is served just here on my left side. Thank you very much.
Sí, sí. España es lo creo que no se son los. Sí.